That's not what we agreed on, James Castle said, his voice sharp, cutting through the thick, acrid air of the dimly lit bazaar. His eyes bore into the alien trader before him, a towering, insectoid being with iridescent, chitinous skin that shimmered under the market's flickering lights. The alien, known as Crixel, clicked its mandibles in what passed for a smug grin. The terms, they changed. It hissed in a voice like dry leaves rustling in the wind. This is a better deal for you, human. She is unique. James glanced at the figure standing silently behind Crixel, a woman, her posture rigid, her hands bound with some kind of glowing restraints. Her dark eyes burned with defiance, and a faint scar ran along her cheek, a testament to battles fought and survived. Unique? James echoed, skepticism dripping from his tone. She looks more like trouble than payment. Crixel's mandibles clicked again, this time with irritation. Trouble or opportunity? She has skills, strength, a rare find among your kind. The woman's lips parted, and her voice was low but steady. I don't belong to anyone, least of all this overgrown beetle. James raised an eyebrow, a flicker of amusement breaking through his annoyance. She's got a mouth on her. That's for sure. Crixel's antennae twitched, signaling frustration. Take her, or leave the deal entirely. But you know the risks of walking away from a trade here. James knew all too well. Deals in the black market circuits of the Los 5 were binding in ways that went beyond contracts. Refusing a trade often meant leaving in pieces, or not at all. He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. Fine, I'll take her. But if she turns out to be more trouble than she's worth, I'm coming back for a refund. The woman shot him a glare. I'm not some trinket you can return. James smirked. Good to know. What's your name? Calla, she said curtly, her gaze unwavering. Calla, James repeated, testing the name on his tongue. Well, Calla, welcome to whatever this is. He gestured vaguely, as if the absurdity of the situation needed no explanation. Crixel handed over a small data chip, the transaction finalized with a series of rapid beeps. Pleasure doing business, it said, though its tone suggested otherwise. Without another word, it disappeared into the shadows of the bazaar, leaving James and Calla standing amidst the chaos. James turned to her, his expression unreadable. Let's get one thing straight. I didn't ask for this, and I'm not thrilled about it either. But since we're stuck with each other, let's try not to kill each other. Deal? Calla's lips twitched, almost forming a smirk. We'll see. James Castle had always prided himself on staying out of trouble, or at least, avoiding trouble that wasn't profitable. Yet, as he led Calla through the crowded, chaotic streets of the Los 5, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just made the worst deal of his life. Calla walked a step behind him, her expression a mixture of defiance and curiosity. Her bindings had dissolved the moment the trade was complete, but she made no attempt to run. James wasn't sure if that was a good sign or a very bad one. So, what exactly do you do? He asked, breaking the silence. What do I do? She echoed, her tone dripping with sarcasm. I survive, and I fight. What else do you need to know? James sighed. Great. A fighter with an attitude. Just what I needed. Better than a traitor with no spine, she shot back. James stopped in his tracks and turned to face her. Listen, lady, I didn't ask for this. You think I'm thrilled about dragging you around? I've got my own problems. Then maybe you should have walked away, she said, crossing her arms. James opened his mouth to retort but stopped. She wasn't wrong. He could have walked away. But something about her, her fire, her defiance, had made him hesitate. And now, here they were. Let's just get off this rock, he muttered, turning back toward the docking bay. It wasn't until they were aboard his ship, the Starlance, that James began to realize just how much trouble he was in. Calla wasn't just rebellious. She was resourceful. Within hours, she had bypassed his security systems, accessed his navigation logs, and reprogrammed his food synthesizer to produce meals he didn't even know the ship could make. You're too good at this, James said, watching her work. What's your story? Calla glanced at him, her expression guarded. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. She hesitated, then sighed. I was part of a resistance. My people were enslaved by the Zorathians, an alien empire that thrives on conquest. I fought back, got caught. They sold me to Crixel, who saw me as nothing more than a bargaining chip. James frowned. The Zorathians? They've got a reputation for being thorough. How'd you survive? Calla's gaze hardened. By refusing to give up. No matter what they did, I kept fighting. And I'll keep fighting until they're gone. Her words sent a chill down James's spine. He'd heard stories about the Zorathians, their brutality, their relentless expansion. If Calla was telling the truth, she was far more dangerous than he'd realized. James's suspicions were confirmed when a Zorathian warship appeared on their radar 3 days later. The ship was massive, bristling with weapons, and clearly not interested in negotiations. They found me, Calla said, her voice calm but tense. Found us, James corrected, gripping the controls. What did you do to make them this angry? Existed, she said simply. James groaned. Great. Any brilliant ideas on how to get out of this? Calla's lips curved into a sly smile. Trust me. Before he could protest, she moved to the weapons console and began inputting commands. The Starlance wasn't a warship, but under Calla's guidance, it became a formidable opponent. She rerouted power to the shields, activated decoy drones, and fired a barrage of missiles that forced the Zorathians to retreat, at least for now. When the battle was over, James stared at her in disbelief. You're full of surprises, aren't you? You have no idea, she said, her smile fading. But they'll be back. And next time, they won't underestimate us. As days turned into weeks, James and Calla became an unlikely team. He taught her how to navigate the galaxy's underworld, and she taught him how to fight like a soldier. They argued constantly, but beneath the bickering was a growing respect and something more. It wasn't until they stumbled upon an abandoned Zorathian outpost that James began to understand the full scope of Calla's past. Hidden in the outpost's archives was a file detailing a secret project, one that involved genetic experimentation on enslaved populations. Calla's name was listed among the test subjects. They used me, she said, her voice shaking. They turned me into something else. James placed a hand on her shoulder. Whatever they did, it doesn't define you. You're still you. She looked at him, her eyes filled with determination. Maybe, but if they think they can control me, they're wrong. I'll destroy them before they get the chance. The Zorathians returned, this time with an armada. But James and Calla were ready. They had spent weeks gathering allies, smugglers, rebels, and anyone else willing to fight. The battle that followed was chaotic and brutal, but thanks to Calla's leadership and James's cunning, the Zorathians were defeated. As the smoke cleared, Calla stood on the bridge of the Starlance, her gaze fixed on the wreckage. It's over, she said softly. For now, James said, standing beside her. But you've made a lot of enemies. She smirked. So have you. He chuckled. Fair point. So, what now? Calla turned to him, her expression thoughtful. We keep fighting. Together. James nodded. Together. With the Zorathians temporarily defeated, James and Calla set out to build a new life, not as traitor and slave, but as equals. Their journey was far from over, but for the first time, they faced the future with hope. And in the vast, unforgiving expanse of the galaxy, hope was the most powerful weapon of all.